If you struggle with procrastination, if you keep waiting for motivation to magically appear, if you feel stuck even when you have big goals, then this video is for you. In the world of self-improvement, everyone talks about motivation, discipline, and productivity. But there's something that doesn't get enough attention: the hidden emotions that stop us from taking action. We assume we're just lazy, unmotivated, or not disciplined enough. But what if that's not the real reason you're stuck? I studied business and psychology in college, worked in the corporate world for 12 years, and have spent over 5 years writing about psychology, habits, and productivity. But despite all of that, when I first thought about starting a YouTube channel, I put it off for years. I told myself I need the perfect idea, or I need the right filming setup. But looking back, I wasn't actually waiting for the right setup, I was waiting to feel ready. And the truth is, readiness comes from action. And that's exactly what we're talking about today, the idea that mood follows action. Motivation isn't what starts the process, action is. So, if there's something you've been putting off, whether it's a project, a habit, or a personal goal, this video might be the nudge you need. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. Procrastination only makes you feel worse. So, you think putting things off will make you feel better? It doesn't. I know because I've done it. The more I avoided making YouTube videos, telling myself I'd start next week, but not actually brainstorming ideas or writing scripts, the more excuses I made. Instead of working on it, I'd watch Netflix or go out. And sure, it felt good in the moment. But the problem? The second I got into bed at night, regret hit me. I got nothing done. Again. And that guilt? It made me feel even worse. The cycle kept repeating, avoiding work, feeling bad, and then avoiding it even more because I felt bad. Procrastination might give you temporary relief, but guilt and anxiety start stacking up behind the scenes. At first, you might brush it off. It's fine, I'll deal with it later. But as time passes, that little voice in your head goes, "Why do I feel so unmotivated?" Then that mental burden grows heavier. Cognitive psychologist Akira Miyake's research shows that procrastination isn't just a bad habit, it's deeply connected to our emotions. The moment you delay a task, your brain marks it as unfinished business. And as time passes, stress builds, guilt creeps in, and before you know it, you're scrambling at the last minute, promising yourself you'll never do this again. In short, procrastination can feel like a break, but it's really just adding to your stress. Chapter 2. Why do we procrastinate? So why do we keep procrastinating, even though we know it makes us feel worse? According to the temporal mood repair strategy, people don't procrastinate because they're lazy. They do it as a way to avoid negative emotions. When faced with something unpleasant, the brain goes, "Ugh, I'm not in the mood. I'll do it later." Distraction becomes a quick mood fix. The catch? It's only a short-lived fix that leaves you feeling worse afterward. Take scrolling through social media instead of tackling a tough assignment. Sure, it feels nice for a second, but once you stop, that uneasy feeling comes roaring back. Piers Steele's research at the University of Calgary suggests that motivation depends on 3 key factors: confidence, personality traits, and the length of the deadline. If you lack confidence, have a long deadline, and get easily distracted, you're more likely to put things off. Meanwhile, if you believe in your abilities and understand the importance of a task, you're far more inclined to take action. Chapter 3. Your brain believes whatever you act out. Your brain's simpler than you might think. It doesn't respond to reality so much as it responds to what you do. If you start exercising, even if you're grumbling about it, your brain goes, "Wait, am I an active person now?" and starts believing it. Psychologist James Laird wanted to see if facial expressions could actually shape emotions. So, he asked participants to smile or frown and then measured their emotional shifts. The result? Those who smiled felt happier, while those who frowned experienced more negativity. In other words, your face isn't just a reflection of how you feel, it can influence your emotions too. Another study by Amy Cuddy found that holding a power pose for just 2 minutes increased testosterone, which boosts confidence and lowered cortisol, the hormone linked to stress. In contrast, those who slouched experienced the exact opposite effect. As I've gotten older and figured out how life really works, I've realized something big. When stress is at its worst, the best thing you can do is just show up and do what needs to be done. Avoiding it only makes things worse. But when you follow through, you don't just avoid guilt, you actually feel proud of yourself. Getting things done builds self-respect. And when it comes to feeling better, nothing beats a strong sense of self-worth. That feeling of accomplishment, pride, and confidence? It doesn't come from avoiding responsibilities, it comes from facing them head-on. Chapter 4. How to stop waiting and start moving. There's no shortcut to a better life. Spend recklessly, and your bank account suffers. Drink too much, and you wake up miserable. Everything has a cost. Nothing good just happens on its own. That's why, when life feels like a mess, the last thing you should do is check out. Instead, lean in. If there's one thing to remember about managing your emotions and getting your life together, it's this. Just do what needs. Action leads the way, but how do you take that first step? Here are 4 simple strategies to make action your default mode. Here's the first thing. Lower stress. Make action easier. You don't have to get everything perfect. If you're feeling stuck, don't be afraid to ask for help instead of avoiding the task. Start with what you can do and let your confidence grow from there. Even little moments of joy in your day can make tackling tasks feel easier. Let's look at an example. When you're feeling exhausted and unmotivated, it's easy to think, I feel drained today. I'll just stay in bed and rest. But the longer you linger, the less motivated you become. A better approach? I'll just sit up, open the window, maybe go for a quick 5-minute walk and play my favorite song. Even these tiny actions can trick your brain into feeling better, making it easier to keep going. Next, let's talk about this. Procrastination isn't a break, it's a trap. Let's be real. When was the last time procrastinating actually felt good? Most of the time, it just comes with that nagging guilt or the creeping anxiety that you should be doing something else. Here's a common scenario. You need to reply to an important email, but you think, ugh, I really should respond, but I just don't feel like it right now. Hours go by, and that email is still sitting there, quietly nagging at the back of your mind, making you feel even more stressed. Instead, try this. I'll just open the draft and type the subject line. Once you start, you realize it's not as bad as you thought, and before you know it, you're halfway through. Another game changer? Shrink the task, the 2-minute rule. Your brain naturally sees big goals as overwhelming, which makes you more likely to put them off. But if you tell yourself, I'll just do it for 2 minutes, the task feels much more manageable. Take morning meditation, for example. If you say, I'll meditate for 10 minutes every morning. It sounds great in theory, but the moment you wake up, you probably reach for your phone and get lost in social media. Instead, try this. As soon as I get out of bed, I'll sit for 2 minutes and breathe. By attaching meditation to waking up, it becomes a natural part of your routine over time. And finally, make action the default, not a struggle. Your willpower isn't infinite, and every little decision throughout the day chips away at it. Instead of relying on sheer discipline, set up your environment so that getting started feels effortless, like the natural next step rather than a battle against distractions. Take starting work in the morning, for example. If you tell yourself, I'll just force myself to focus the second I sit down at my desk, it sounds determined, but the reality? You open your laptop and somehow end up checking emails or scrolling through the news. A better approach? Set up triggers that make it easier to dive in. 5 minutes before work, I'll get a reminder. Start with the most important task first. My homepage will show my to-do list, and social media will be blocked during work hours. When your surroundings nudge you in the right direction, taking action becomes the default, not the struggle. Chapter 5. How does mood follows action fit into philosophy? It's fascinating. Ancient wisdom figured this out long before modern psychology even put a name to it. The Stoics, ancient Greek philosophers who emphasized resilience and self-discipline, believed that emotions are unpredictable, but actions? Those are always within our control. You don't wait to feel good before working out. You work out to feel good. For them, how you respond to life is what defines you. Your choices, not your emotions, shape your character. Buddhism, a spiritual tradition that emphasizes mindfulness and cause and effect, teaches that the results we experience in life come from the actions we take, not just the thoughts we have. Don't wait for your mind to be in the perfect state. Lead with action, and your mindset will follow. See the pattern? All these philosophies tell us the same thing. Waiting for motivation is a trap. Who you are isn't just about how you feel. It's about what you do, over and over again. Now it's your turn. When I finally stopped procrastinating and actually started making YouTube videos, something incredible happened. Suddenly, I felt more energized, not just in my work, but in my personal life, my hobbies, and even my relationships. I had more momentum, more drive, and it all started because I simply did what needed to be done. It was proof that taking action is the best solution to feeling stuck. That's why I'm committed to following this principle in my own life, and I want to share this with as many people as possible. The key isn't just taking action, it's finding your way to make action easier. So, experiment, tweak, and see what actually works for you. What works for one person might not work for another. The key is experimenting and figuring out what helps you move forward. I hope this video gave you a few ideas to try. If this video helped, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. How does mood follows action play out in your life? Let's keep the conversation going and help each other move forward. No motivation needed.